There is a friendship that I had since high school, and we were very close, and um, our lives overlapped in a lot of ways. And we were just two peas in the pie. And it was one of those relationships that I mentioned, and then it abruptly there was a shift where it just wasn't good. And I couldn't really pinpoint why, but I knew that some things were not right. And and I knew that they were upset, but they wouldn't really tell me what they were upset about. And I knew that they were upset because of the things that they were doing, which made me upset. And and then I think we just went on this merry-go-round of I do a little dab at you and I hurt you, you do a little dab at me and I get hurt from that. And it's just like a bouncing thing. And we're just building up hurts, right? Um, but then there was one point where, I wanted to have a conversation about why certain things were done. And they were kind of like, I don't have an issue with that. I don't know what you're talking about. You must be the one to have an issue with it. So then it was back on the merry-go-round. And at that point, I didn't have the capacity to like actively be on the merry-go-round. Even though I was on it, I was still riding it, but I wasn't like, like I wasn't engaged with it, but my body was still on that merry-go-round, if that makes sense. So when I say I wasn't engaged in it, the relationship just drifted apart. Um, and it became this wall and this barrier that impacted other people around us because we were very interconnected and we had a circle that was interconnected with us. And so as we began to drift apart, there was this huge wall that was formed, but the wall started impacting other people around us as well. And so fast forward, we stop speaking, not really friends, but we're still in relationship with the people, other people around this wall that we built. And for some reason, although we have both gone on and done and lived our lives, right? Um, I was still very much on this merry-go-round. And so I wasn't as active on it, wasn't riding the ride all of the time, but things would happen in my interaction with other people that knew us both that would sit me right back on that ride. I'll be right back on that horse. And I had to do a lot of work to figure that out, to figure out how to get off that horse, to figure out what was holding me. Um, and so this year, I was able to come to the conclusion with a lot of and there were little pieces. I figured out pieces along the way, and I'm not going through all the pieces on this podcast. But one of the main things for me at this point in my life, I would say now it's probably been about 7 or 8 years, 7 or 8 years since the wall really like separated us, maybe even longer than that. Maybe about 10 years, 10 years, 10 or 12 years. Um, but what I had to recognize, what I had to let go of was my dream or vision of what this would be. Back to that little girl, right? Back to that little girl that was like, we're going to be doing everything together. We're going to be having friends. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing that. And every time I would interact with people outside of the wall who had interacted with her, who appears to be having this vision with her that I had envisioned, it would put me right back on that roller coaster. The roller coaster. It would put me right back on the Ferris wheel. I done made up different things. I do actually think that we was on the roller coaster at some point, and then we probably did go on the Ferris wheel. But we talking about the merry-go-round right now. So I think that it will put me right back on that merry-go-round. Recently, in this last year, I had to own that what I was looking for wasn't her. It was that fantasy. It was that vision. It was that hope. It was that thing. What I was looking for, what I was mad at was not necessarily who she was in relationship with or whatever. It was more so that the idea of them having something that I had wanted that I didn't have, or I didn't perceive myself to have. Well, I didn't have it because I was too busy being on the merry-go-round. That's another thing. If I'm on the merry-go-round going around, it's really hard for me to cultivate something with someone else, right? Because I'm still constantly on this thing because of this vision that I have had of it. And so I had to be able to tell this little girl to let go of that. Like that vision is not reality. It's not the reality that you're in right now. Doesn't mean that it'll never happen, but it's also a fantasy. It's not reality. Like it is not reality. And there are so many other awesome opportunities, awesome friendships that you can be enjoying, having fun with, getting on other rides with, but you keep finding yourself back on this merry-go-round. And so, as I begin to do that for myself, have some compassion for the little me that wanted certain things and was holding on to certain things, and give her the courage to let that go and let the big me, you know what I'm saying, live and enjoy the relationships that are around me. Um, I was really able to break free from that, from riding on that particular circle, on that particular merry-go-round.